Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Digital Thursday. We're just going to give everyone a few moments to get logged in and get settled, and then we'll start the session today. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Digital Thursday. Today we're going to be covering the topic of digital collaboration. So we're just giving everyone just a few minutes to come on in. My name's Heather Hickey, and I'm here with the program team. And my partner here, Sarah Richey, she'll be answering the questions on the back channels for you. So if you have any questions or if we're moving too fast or too slow for you, just leave us a comment and we can adjust that for you. And we're just helping get set up. So you will have the link that leads you to the shared document where you can type. Some people like to flip back and forth between them, and others like to share their screen. So if you would like to be able to view the video and the conversation at the same time, if you just take your mouse, and I'm just going to go over to a screen share so you can see what I'm talking about just for a moment. So if you notice my mouse at the top here, if I actually take it and hold it, I can pull away. It actually will create a second window that you can then go ahead and minimize. And if you just grab the corner, you can kind of resize that window. So you can actually have two windows at the same time happening there. So I will come back to you for a moment. So it's up to you how you want to do that. And again, please give us feedback and we'll adjust the session as we go to help you out, and we can slow down or answer your specific questions for you. So we are talking about digital collaboration today. So we're going to be talking about some ideas of setting the stage for the students and kind of the different options and tools you'll be able to use to create that environment for them. So I'm going to just go over to our presentation here. So you should see a nice blue screen here that says Digital Thursday. So again, your choices to communicate with us are either within that shared document, or if you're a Twitter or Yammer user, you can use the hashtag DPChats, and we'll be able to answer your questions there as well. And we see everybody's just coming in and saying hello. That's great. So today we're talking about ways to support our 21st century learners and the skills and attributes that us as educators are trying to build within them. So in our board, we've talked a lot in the last few years about the idea of the critical thinking and problem solving, curiosity, questioning, provocations, the imagination. And today we're going to be highlighting for you the idea of collaboration across networks and what that looks like for students. I'm just going to highlight for you two of the Catholic graduate expectations that kind of link really nicely into collaboration, whether it's in a digital format or in a non-digital format. So we're always looking to promote our students to be good collaborative students, looking at contributing to the common good with dignity, and also looking at the idea of building effective communicators. And sometimes with a digital platform, that takes on a new meaning, and we have to really scaffold that for the students. So we're going to go through a few examples today of what that might look like for you. So the first tool that I'm going to talk about with you is Padlet. And some of you may or may not have heard about Padlet before. So you access Padlet through the web at padlet.com. This tool is great because teachers will create an account and they can save all of their Padlets, which essentially is a virtual bulletin board. Students will not need to create an account, so that's why we love this tool. They don't have to give any private information, which we try to avoid online. And they will access it through a link. So I'll show you how to access that link and how to build a Padlet. So it's a great virtual wall or virtual bulletin board that allows students to communicate, very much like you may have used chart paper and Post-its in the past. Now we have virtual Post-its, and it kind of redefines that experience for students because instead of just adding text, they can now insert pictures or images from online, videos, documents, links. So it opens up a lot of opportunities for having the students collaborate together. So I'm going to go ahead and come on out of here and take you into Padlet. So just bear with me as I find it up here. We had a few tabs open. Okay, so I'm just going to back up and then I'll take you back here in a minute. So once you log into Padlet, you get to this dashboard screen. And to create an account, the first time you go to the website, you'll see a link there, create an account. It's quite simple to do. You'll see I have multiple Padlets saved. So unlike all of those chart papers that I usually ended up drowning in the corner of my room and piling up everywhere, now I have this neat little link that I can just revisit when it makes sense for me to do so. So I'm going to kind of start off slowly and show you how to build a Padlet, a brand new Padlet or bulletin board. So up on the top right-hand side, you're going to see where it says New Padlet. So I'm going to go ahead and click there. And right away, you notice a nice blank space that it provides for us. So you'll notice on the right-hand side, there's a toolbar here for you with options. And when you come down to the little wheel, it says Modify the Padlet. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And the first thing it prompts you to do is to create a title for your Padlet, which becomes helpful when you have many of them on the go. So you can sort out. If you like to be fancy, you can add a little picture. You notice that popped up. In the description box, you may decide to give a description as to what this is for, just to keep track of all your Padlets. And you may decide to use Padlets with the entire class, or you may decide to use Padlets with just a few students within a particular group. You'll notice here on the right-hand side over here, it says Wallpaper. So when I click Wallpaper, it's going to allow me to change the background of this bulletin board. So it does give you a bunch of options. So if you just notice, as soon as I click on one, the background changes. People just wondering, how do we sign in to do this? And when you go to padlet.com the first time, it's going to have a button that just says sign up. It's going to ask you for your name and your email address. And then as soon as you do that, you'll be right where I am, where it says create a new Padlet. So again, I can change the background to be whatever I want. Now that I have this bulletin board, let's say, this virtual bulletin board, I'm going to show you how you or your students will add information to it. Again, the students will access this through a link, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes how you will share that with your students. But let's just talk, assuming that we've shared that with them already and they're inside. And what I'm going to do is just show you, as soon as you come onto the bulletin board, if you double click, it comes up with this little virtual note or post-it note, whatever you want to call it. And you're going to notice that there's some options in here. So at the very top where it says title, that's usually where I'll have my students either put their initials or just their first name. I encourage you not to have them put their first and last name just because this is a web-based program. So we don't want to give any privacy away, student information. And then when they click underneath, they can go ahead and just type whatever it is they'd like to type into the box. Now, as you notice, as I kind of hover, there's some options here. So if I were to click this sound recorder, the attachment button, it allows me to upload an attachment. So I can actually paste a link from the web. So if there's perhaps a YouTube video or something you'd like to be on here, you could just right click and hit paste and it would put it here. You can click your upload button, which allows you to choose any file off of your computer. So if you had anything whether it was an article or a rubric or anything you wanted to add in there, or students. It also allows you to take a photo, which works a little bit better if you're using a tablet, just because it has the camera feature. So if you're on a desktop, you might not have them take a photo, but they definitely could copy and paste one from the internet. And again, I encourage you to attempt this with your students. They are quite keen to just start clicking away. So even if you're not 100% comfortable with what all of these things do, your students will figure it out and they'll be happy to share you. So you can add videos, pictures, notes, anything through here. So if you click on those, just like I showed you. Now, once the students enter their information here, they're done. The teacher then has the ability to kind of click onto the box and drag it and move it around. So if you wanted to organize student thoughts, perhaps maybe they were asking questions about some inquiry provocation you've started with them, or you're just gathering some feedback as an exit ticket or something like that, you would have the ability to do that. And again, you can just add as much to the conversation as you like, as many students in your class want to keep adding notes. I'm going to come back down to this little wheel that I was on before, where it had wallpaper. And I just want to show you one of the options is to add your own. So if you were working on a particular inquiry, you might have a special picture you'd like to have in the background to make it fancy. But by all means, you can choose one of these basic ones that are there, and that works well as well. Underneath there, you're going to see a little button that says Layout. When you click on the Layout button, you'll notice that you have three options. The first one is Freeform, which we're in now, and that was the one that allowed you to click and drag those comments and move them around. So if you were looking to organize comments, that's the option you want. If I click Stream, you're going to notice that it just puts it in order, one on top of the other. So if you're just looking for randomness in an organized fashion, that's sometimes a good option. And the last one is Grid, which just maximizes the space so that you can see more on the screen at once. So depending on your purpose, you will choose one of the layout options. And as you see, you as the teacher have access to this toolbar, but your students will not. They will only have access to double click and add a comment. So you can see all of these kind of are one on top of the other. So if you start at the top and kind of work your way down, you'll kind of hit all of these and you won't miss anything that you want to include here. You'll notice there's a little button underneath that says Privacy. If I click that, there's a whole bunch of options here for privacy. The first two require students to have an email address to sign in. And because our students are in elementary, we're not going to get them to do that. What we're going to do is choose this one that says Hidden Link. And it comes up by default anyway, so you don't have to worry too much. And I choose the Can Write button, which allows them to go ahead and double click in there and access. If I were to choose this Can Moderate button, that would give them the power to be able to click and drag those around like the teacher does. Oops, sorry. So you can decide on your own whether you want them to have that access or not. The option that says Totally Public means that this is out there for the world to see. So you probably aren't using it in that capacity at this point. So we'll just leave that one alone. Down at the very bottom, you're going to notice that there's an option here to moderate posts. So depending on your students, and you'll know your students well enough to know whether this is necessary, but if you click that button, it means that the teacher will have to approve each of those posts before they actually are posted. So by clicking that, you, the teacher, will see their comment, and it'll give you the option to post or delete. So if you're worried that students might be posting something inappropriate, that might be a good option for you, or the first time if you're worried. But usually if you set the purpose and you set the rules with the students up front, they're pretty good about following that protocol. So you can decide whether you feel you might need to click that or not need to click that. So I'm going to come back over here. There is a button that says notifications. This, if you were to use this Padlet for perhaps as a homework option, if you provide the students with the links, which I'm going to show you how to do, and they're adding to this Padlet at home, you can click this to send you an email, and whatever email you put in when you registered, it's going to send you a notification every time someone adds something to the Padlet. So depending on what you're using that for, you may or may not decide to do that. Okay, the next button is addresses. And when I click on addresses, you're going to notice this link I've been talking about. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to double click in here so it highlights it, and then I'm going to say copy link. And now I have that link. So I can either send that out to my students through a shared file, which we're going to show you how to do later in this session, or you could simply copy that onto a slip of paper for them or onto the board and let them manually enter it in. And they would just go to any internet browser and type that link in, and they automatically would see this page and would be able to start clicking there. You have ability to copy this if you wanted to create duplicate Padlets. So sometimes teachers want to create a Padlet and they want small groups to work on it. So you could actually copy this repeatedly and create the same Padlet over and over again and assign one to each group. And as you click in each of those different Padlets, it will generate a different link. So you'd be able to give each group their own link without having to actually build the Padlet over and over and over again. And then of course you have a delete option here. Okay, so I'm just going to click out of there, and I want you to notice this button here that says share or export. Once your Padlet's the way you want it, if I click that, you're going to notice right down at the bottom, it generates a QR code. So if you are working on an iPad, for instance, or if the students are using their own devices from home, they may have a QR code reader installed. And if you're familiar with how to use that, you would just have the kids scan that and it would bring them in, and it would prevent them from having to type in the link. So if you're familiar with QR code readers, that's an option for you. If you're not to worry, just you can use that link just as easily to get in there. So I'd like to share with you just a Padlet that I created earlier today. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my home page here. Again, you see all the Padlets that are here. And if I had chose to copy the Padlets like we were just talking about, they would all be here as well. And then when you clicked in them and you went to the link button, it would generate the link for you for that group. We talked a little bit about the idea of defining spaces for students. If you're familiar with Padlet already, this might be an option. If you're new to Padlet, you may not want to come here yet. I'm just going to show it with you so that when you're ready, you might choose to come back here and watch this video and try to attempt what I'm going to show you. We will be posting the videos from the sessions by the end of the week, and they will be on Office 365, and I'm going to go in there and show you where that is, so that if you would like to rewatch the video at some point when you're ready to learn a little bit more, that option will be there for you. So I'm going to click on here and just show you this Padlet that we created. And you can see what I've done to define the space is I've actually used a graphic organizer here. So I just want to show you how I did that. And again, I left the option for the layout here in free form, which means that I can kind of move the comments around. And we got a little fancy and put in a little picture here just to be fun. And you can see who the influence was for my creation. My niece who's obsessed with Elsa. So what I did is when I came into wallpaper, where it says add your own wallpaper, I chose that. And what I said was, I'm going to upload a picture. And when you click that, it's going to ask you to choose a file from your computer. And what you can do is save a picture as a graphic icon, or a graphic organizer, sorry, as I did, and just say choose, and then it would upload and it would put it in the background for you. How did I do that is the question. So I'm going to show you one of my favorite sites that I like to use. And just going to find it up here, sorry. So there's this website, it's a free website. It's called Holt Interactive Graphic Organizers. And if you Google that title, you will find this as well. And you can see there's a whole bunch of graphic organizers in here. So you can choose any one of these that you think might be appropriate. And it automatically will create this graphic organizer for you. And what I did is I just took a screenshot of it. So if you're working on a Dell, if you hold down the function button in the left-hand corner and the print screen button in the top right-hand corner, it will actually copy that image for you. And you can paste it into a Word document to turn it into a picture. The other option is if you actually just come up here to the web toolbar and you right click and you say copy. Then when you come back into your Padlet, I'm just going to come back into the one earlier, and I come back to wallpaper, and I'm going to say add your own. You're going to notice it says link from web. I can actually just paste that in, and it's going to generate that image that's from that web page. And then I'm just going to say okay, and it's going to go ahead and plop that in the background for me. So you can do it that way as well. Sometimes it does cut off a little bit of the image for you, so I found it was more efficient for me to actually do the picture way. And I'm just going to show you if I go back to that sheet. So if I do a screenshot, like I told you by holding the function and print screen, if you're on a Mac, you're going to use the Command Shift 4. And when I do that, it's going to allow me to select the part of the picture I want to copy. And if you're on a Mac, it's going to save it to your desktop. And if you're on a Dell, it's on your clipboard. So you'd actually have to open up a Word document and paste it in there. And then when I come back here, I can say upload and choose a file. And I'm going to look on my desktop for where it just pasted that. And I'm going to say, choose that picture and say, okay. And it's actually put that in there. And I can shrink that or blow it up. Again, you can come back to this if you're not familiar with Padlet. It might be easier for you just to start with one of the simpler templates and experiment, and you can come back to the video if you're looking to kind of go a little deeper at a later time. So Padlet's a great tool. Because it's accessed through the web, you can access it from multiple devices, whether it's on the iPads or students are bringing in their own device. If you are working on iPads, you have to tap with your finger to create that box, and you have to tap significantly for it to sense your finger. We are looking to have the Padlet app added on at hopefully at some point this year, which will make it a little bit more user-friendly as well, but it does work. Okay, I'm going to come back down here. So in a nutshell, that's Padlet, a way you can create a quick little collaborative space with your students. And we're going to talk a little deeper about student collaboration. So I'm just going to share with you this little quick video. It's less than 2 minutes, and then we'll join you back here. Oh, sorry, wrong way. There we go.
The teacher doesn't just throw control to the students and say, let me know what you figure out. she really has to plan ahead of time. She has to figure out how to group the students so that they're the most productive. She has to scaffold their work. So she provides hints or clues or templates, worksheets if necessary, to kind of show them what they need to do first, what they might consider doing next, just to teach them how to work together. You know, teamwork is not something that comes naturally, especially for younger students. They really need to learn how to do that.
So we would have an anchor or a set of expectations about what kind of language would be used, what the roles and responsibilities are for each person in that group, and what are the processes for asking further questions or clarification.
So you serve one trail mix and give out stickers. I do two trail mixes. Bryce does the questions, and then I do the stickers. Other stickers.
So when students are working on projects in different groups, it's difficult to get to all of them at once, and they may really need you. So my first strategy for that is teaching a child how to use each other, teaching them how to talk to one another. And so here we call it accountable talk. So what are ways that you talk with each other when you disagree? How do you do that in a respectful manner to continue to collaborate with each other and keep the project moving? Also, I do a lot of tabletop directions. If I have short directions that they need to get through, or a checklist, or an agenda, they have to get through so many things by the end of the day or the end of the week, instead of raising their hand and asking me and I have to run back and forth, it's right there in front of them.
So it's really the art of facilitation. The teacher would not be at the front of the room directing instruction, but instead she is choreographing instruction. So she's like a conductor, and she would go to all the different tables and groups to ensure that each group is working in harmony to achieve that goal at the end.
So when we're talking about collaboration skills, those are skills that we really want to address in class, face-to-face, before we bring students into the digital platform. So in the video, she mentioned the idea of accountable talk. So that's a skill you really would want to have worked on with your students before you bring them in there. And then the digital space can enhance that experience by allowing them to have the options to add multimedia, whether it's pictures, videos, links, documents, etc., that you can bring into that space. So some of the things you want to consider if you're going to work on digital collaboration. First, you want to make sure that you've had a conversation around digital citizenship and what it means to be a good collaborative member online, and what types of things are appropriate or inappropriate in online platforms. We're going to share with you in this session a resource that you can find some help in there to address those conversations. We're also talking about defining the workspace. We're looking at digital footprint. So just that reminder to students, what they add onto online forums remains there, whether they delete it or not. So we always set those expectations that just as they would contribute in class to something, would be the same expectations that we would expect of them online. And like everything else, to have that successful experience, you really have to define and set the purpose for why you're collaborating with students. So sometimes it might be the idea of knowledge sharing and having them come in and share something that they've learned or found through research. It may be at other times to provide feedback to each other, perhaps for presentations or different things happening in your class. You may use it to have students reflect or set goals, or to pose questions and wonderings. Okay, so we mentioned the idea of digital citizenship. osapac.ca is a website that is a ministry website. So there's a lot of vetted resources here for us, which is really great. And they've broken digital citizenship into 4 main categories: critical thinking, credit and creation, communication, and protection. So what I'm going to do is actually flip out to their website so you can get an idea of what that looks like. And just bear with me as I find where we left it out. So as you come into the OSAPAC site, there's a lot of actually really useful information in here other than digital citizenship as well. But when you come under the tab here that says projects, if you click on the top one that says digital citizenship, you're going to get to that screen that I was just referencing. The great thing about how they've broken this up is it's actually quite easy to kind of take some of these concepts and layer them into things you're already doing, particularly if you're working through some inquiries in your class. Once you click on one of these, you're going to see it gives you a little description. So for example, critical thinking, they're talking about using effective strategies to search for information for so specific keywords or how to narrow a search. And oftentimes, if you're not familiar with how to do that, you have a couple of options, is either to search it up yourself. But if you look underneath here, there's tabs for different divisions. So depending on which division you teach, if you click on that and then click on resources, you'll notice that there's just a variety of lessons and interactive websites for students and videos, lesson plans. So there's a lot in here to support you in those conversations if you're not 100% sure on how to actually address that. Using credible online resources. I mean, that's a very difficult thing to figure out how to use a credible source. So it's definitely something we want to build into our inquiries and research and language. And you can see right here in the very bottom, it's talking about applying to an inquiry model. So it's a great way to kind of build some of that in there. If we're looking at some of these other categories, we're also talking about credit and creation. So how do they not plagiarize and give credit where credit's due, and how to license work. So there's actually some great resources in here about how to kind of do that. Common Sense Media is one of my favorites, and also Creative Commons has quite a bit of stuff in there that I really enjoy. And communication, really setting that platform. So communication is probably an area you want to start, and setting some learning goals and building some success criteria before we start bringing students into that digital platform. So it's something you can do in a class setting before you move into a digital setting to help kind of guide them through that and scaffold. And the last one is protection and privacy. And again, just talking about keeping themselves safe and secure. So some great lessons in there that you can tie into many areas of the curriculum. And it's definitely a conversation you want to have up front, but it's also a conversation you want to have on an ongoing basis as you bring students into these platforms. Okay. We just had a quick request. Can we show you how to create a QR code? And we definitely can do that. So I'm just going to pop out here for a moment and open up a new browser. It's as simple as this. So if you type in QR code generator, and you can see it comes up right away because I do it a lot. And any one of these work. You can click on any one of them. They're all free. And all you're going to do is paste a link right in there. So for example, if I come back here and I right click and copy, and then I come back to the QR code generator, all I'm going to do is paste it. And if you look to your right, you'll notice that QR code changes. So straight away, it's changed, and you have some options. You can save that as a picture. You can share it out. It gives you a link if you want to email it. You can print it, or you can simply leave this open on a computer screen or a smartboard, and the kids can use the QR code readers and just read it right from there. So it's as simple as that to create those QR codes. And we'll just come back in here. What I want to highlight with you now is one of the features that's offered in Office 365. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to create a group with your students, and then how to share a file with them, and how to create a Word document that they can all kind of collaborate and type in like you are. If you're in asking questions, you're part of that experience already. So we're going to show you how to set that up with your students. So If you've never logged into Office 365 before, I'm just going to quickly review that for you. So if you're at school, you simply type DP Cloud in the web browser. If you're at home, it's dpcloud.dpcdbsb.org. And that is both for staff and students. And for staff, you're going to log in with the same username and password as you do for your email. And students will use the same username and password they log on to any school computer. And once they do that, they're going to come in. They also do have an email address in there, as do you. So your secondary email is your first name dot last name. For students, it's @student. For staff, it's @staff.dpcdbsb.org. Sorry. So it's very much like your email that you have already, except you're going to insert staff dot here. So some students are aware or unaware that they have email, and that would be up to you whether you wanted to open and have them access that or not. But we'll show you nonetheless where to access it. So the first thing I'm going to highlight for you is how to create a group. When you create a group, it allows you to bring all your students into a group. And then what you can do is share a file with the whole group at the same time instead of having to share it with each individual student over and over again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go log in and show you what that looks like. So I have it bookmarked on my computer just to get in there quicker. So when you first log in, staff and students, this is your home screen that you're going to see. And you have a variety of icons here. The first one I'm going to take you into is the one that says people. And this is where it's going to allow you to create a group. So I'm going to go ahead and click there. It's a good place to start because there's a lot of features in Office 365, and over the next few months we'll be highlighting many of them. And once you have a group made, it just makes it a lot more efficient and faster to interact with your students. So you're going to notice on the left-hand side here, I have a whole bunch of groups on the go. Most of them are test groups that we're showing people. But right above that, there's a little button that says new with a plus sign. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that plus sign to create a group. And you'll notice on the right-hand side, it pops up here. It's going to ask to choose a name. As soon as I type a name, you're going to notice it's going to pop up green, and it's either going to say available or it'll pop up red unavailable. If someone else in the board has already created a group with that name, it's going to say it's unavailable so that you don't confuse what group you're interacting with. So you will have to keep creating a unique name till you get one that's available. And then I skip down here to where it's description. You may decide to give it a description. As you add more groups as the year goes on for things, it could get confusing what they're for. So it just helps you kind of keep that organized. You initially probably will create a group with your entire class, but at times you may be creating a group for just a few students in a group. Here's an important feature, and it's a feature you cannot change after you create this group. So you definitely have to make this decision now. Your group name can't be changed and the privacy can't be changed. So it automatically is set on public. If you click that, it's going to give you an option to change it to private. If it's a public group, that means anyone in Dufferin Peel would have access to what's in that group. So you probably are likely going to want to check off the private group. That way, the only people that you add into that group will be able to see what's there. So I'm going to go ahead and click that so it says private. So what I'm going to do is come up here where it says create, and I'm going to create the group. And then it's going to ask me who I want in my group. So you're going to go ahead. You have two options for adding people. You can start typing someone's name, whether it's staff or student. So I'm going to go ahead and type Sarah's name here. Steve, if you're still watching, you're there. So I'm going to just click her name so you can see she's just automatically added in there. Now she comes up quite quickly her groups before. If it's someone you haven't added before, it might take a minute just to search through the database, but it will find them. When you're adding students, same thing, you can type their name. The other option is to type their student number or for teachers' employee numbers. I kind of recommend to use the student numbers, and you can get that from your school office, simply because when you're adding names, if there happens to be other students in the board with the exact same name, which happens more than you would think, it becomes hard to decipher which student it is. So I actually just suggest typing in their student numbers. You only have to go through this experience once, and then you'll be able to create that group. You can add members later. So if for some reason you have a student come into your class, you want to add them in, we will show you how to do that. So once you've added whoever you want, you're going to come up to the top and you're going to click add. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that to add. And it's going to generate my group for me. So I've called it Masaki's class. You're going to notice here that it says you can start a conversation. So there's actually a conversation thread here. You can actually have a dialogue going right here in this space. So if you find Padlet maybe overwhelming for you, this might be a good start. You'll also notice here where it says view group files. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, because what I can do is actually share files right with my students or upload them in here so they have access to them, to the whole group. It does take a minute just to generate that for you, because what it's doing is it's searching through your files that you've saved, looking to see if you've attached any groups to that. Now in this case, because I just created this group, it's not going to find any, but it still takes a minute or so to go through that experience. And just as it's doing that, I just want to remind you, we're aware that it's a lot of information for you to receive all at the same time. So just a reminder that this video will be posted under videos, and I'll show you how to access that. So we encourage you just to take a small piece away from today, and when you're ready to move maybe on to a little bit more, you could go back and rewatch the video. So I'm going to go ahead and click here now that it's generated that. Now, because I just created this, there are no files in my group, but you'll notice I have some option here to upload a file. So perhaps I have a rubric or an assignment I want all my class to have access to, and I'm trying to move paperless, so I don't want to have to print that, or I don't want them to lose it, and I want them to be able to access it from home. So I could click upload, choose a file, and then just like everything else, you'll go through your files here, click what it is you'd like to pull up. You can give a description. Perhaps you're giving them something there. And what it'll do is it'll just upload that for them. So now the students will be able to click on that, and it will just help to keep your files organized that you want to share perhaps with the whole class. Perhaps you want to create something new. If you click the new button, you could actually just go right into Microsoft Word, and you could type something and it would save it right in here for you. You also have a calendar feature. So if this was for your whole class, you may decide to use the calendar, and it's as simple as just going in here and double clicking in a space and typing a note. And when the students click on that calendar feature in the group, right away they'll be able to access that. In Microsoft Office, you're going to notice often you're going to see little 3 dots that you see. When you click on those, it just kind of gives you some more options. So if you come down to where it says member, what it'll do is it'll list all the members that are in your group. And this is where you'll have the opportunity to add someone new. So if you clicked add members, again, it would just ask you for their name or their student number, and you could add in a student there. And we're just quickly going to show you. I want you to notice in the top left-hand corner, there's what we call a waffle. And when you click that, you get your main menu back again. So I'm actually just going to click on Microsoft Word. And I'm going to start a new document here. I just want to show you how you can quickly share something with a group or with a student. So perhaps you've created something in here. You'll notice by default, it automatically names it. If you just click there, you can rename that file. Oops. Now you are working on Word Online, which has less features than a regular Word program, but it still has significantly enough to functionally work. However, it does give you the option, you'll see here, open in Word. So if you're working on a computer that has Word installed, you could click that and you could work in the fully functioning Word. So just depending what you're doing, it may be fine for you just to stay online here. You'll notice in the top right-hand corner, there's a button that says Share. So when I click that, it's going to come up and say, who would you like to share that with? So I'm going to go ahead and say, I'd like to share that with that whole group that I just created. I'm going to start typing the name of the group and it'll pop up. I'll just click that. And on the right-hand side, it's going to give you two options, can edit and can view. So if it's perhaps just an assignment, rubric, or some information or an article, you maybe just would click view because you don't want the students to be able to change it. However, if you're creating a collaborative space like we are today, you'll have to select can edit so that they can actually type into that box. You'll notice it says, do you want them to have to sign in? Students have to sign in anyway to access this, so it's irrelevant there. So I'm just going to say share, and now that file will go to the entire group. And if students are looking to now locate that file, if you come back up to that little waffle, you're going to come down to the little cloud that says OneDrive. So that is all of your storage space. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. You're going to notice that it has all the files that I've saved into here. Right away, the groups come up. So they can either click right on the group name and click files, and they'll see it that way, like we were looking when we were in the group. They can also click here where it says shared with me. And if they click there, anything that's been shared with them at all they would be able to access here as well. So either one of those locations. And just for your own knowledge as well, this is your storage space. So again, you have this option to upload files here or to create new files here. Okay, so uploading again, you would just choose from your computer and it would move it up. The great thing about that is then you have the ability to log in from anywhere and access your files, which is a nice feature. And we just have a minute left here. So I'm going to come back out of here. Just give me 1 second. Bear with me. There we go. So I know we've covered quite a bit today. In those icons that we showed you when you first logged into Microsoft Office 365, you'll notice that there's one called Videos. And when you click in Videos, there is at the top, there's a little icon that says Channels. And if you click on Channels, you can either just scroll through them or you can search. And you're looking for the hashtag DP Chats like we were using today. And that's where you're going to find all of the videos stored. Okay, so you'll be able to go back and kind of rewatch this. Also, good for you to know that on Tuesdays, we also have sessions called Tech Tuesdays. They're shorter sessions that are open to everyone in the board. Basically, they run on the hour and half hour, and we'll be highlighting little pieces of what we're doing in the Thursday sessions. So we'll be reviewing some of the things that we've done. So you're always welcome to join us on Tuesdays and come in for a quick little 20-minute review or maybe introduction to something new. And just to leave you with today, we thank you so much for your time and coming in and learning with us. The first link that you went into where you clicked the link to come to the video, if you go back to that, at the very bottom, you'll notice there was a link that says Exit Ticket. If you wouldn't mind taking about 2 minutes of your time and just clicking in there and giving us a little feedback, it'll really help us plan the future sessions as far as topics and pacing and all of that. Just so we're trying to meet the needs of everyone out there. So from myself and Sarah and the whole team, thank you so much for being with us today. We hope you took something that you'll be able to try, and by all means, you can always share with us or let us know how it's going, and we'll be happy to help. Cheers and take care.